The Chicago Bears are packing their bags and heading west for a showdown against the Las Vegas Raiders. And the timing could not be more crucial. Last week's victory was necessary just to climb back into the mix, and now the Bears find themselves staring at another massive opportunity. Sitting at one Vittoria and two Dorotas, they know exactly what is at stake. Beat the Raiders, and you hit the bye week at an even record, something that looked almost impossible just a short time ago. Lose, and you're digging a deeper hole that will take weeks, maybe months to climb out of. The Raiders are in that very same position, also carrying one Vittoria and two Dorotas into this matchup after opening the season with a win and then dropping two straight. Both squads are desperate, and desperate football teams tend to throw everything they have on the field. When you start comparing the numbers, the Bears actually look a lot stronger in key areas than many might realize. The offense is averaging just under 25 points per game, which lands them inside the top 10 in the league. On the other hand, the defense is sitting at the very bottom when it comes to points allowed. That ranking is brutal, but one solid showing can swing the numbers quickly at this stage of the season. The biggest bright spot? Turnover margin. Thanks to 4 takeaways and 0 giveaways last week against Dallas, Chicago now sits at +2, tied for 5th in the league. On critical downs, they're thriving, ranking top 5 on both third down offense and third down defense. And that is where real football games are often decided. Flip over to the Raiders, and the struggles are clear. They sit 26th in scoring. The offensive line has been a mess, and their feature running back Ashton Jenney has not found much daylight. Quarterback Geno Smith has been shaky, already with costly turnovers, and their turnover margin is sitting in the red. Defensively, the Raiders have been slightly better, ranking 22nd in points allowed, but inconsistency has plagued them as well. They battled in the first 2 weeks before Washington picked them apart in Week 3. This is not a defense that should terrify the Bears, but on the road in Vegas, it will still be a tougher test than last week against Dallas at Soldier Field. Injuries could also shape this matchup. The Bears are waiting on the status of Colton Loveland, who is nursing a hip issue but is not expected to miss extended time. More concerning is the likely absence of Kyler Gordon and TJ Edwards, two of the defense's most important players. Neither has practiced recently, and with the bye week looming, the safe bet is that Chicago will keep them sidelined for one more week. Jalen Jones is another name to watch with a lingering hamstring problem, leaving the secondary dangerously thin. On the Raiders' side, rookie tight end Michael Mayer entered concussion protocol in the loss to Washington. He had been building early chemistry with Brock Bowers, so his status will be monitored closely. When you break down the head-to-head matchups, the scales start to tilt. Coaching? Too early to make a firm call. Ben Johnson is just beginning his tenure in Chicago, but the energy is noticeable and the offensive creativity has sparked optimism. Pete Carroll may not be the flashiest coach anymore, but his decades of experience cannot be dismissed. For now, that feels like a push. Quarterback play, however, leans Chicago's way. Caleb Williams has taken care of the football, shown poise beyond his years, and proven to be a legitimate threat both through the air and on the ground. Geno Smith has moments where he looks sharp, but much of his yardage has come in garbage time when the Raiders are playing from behind. If this game comes down to which quarterback executes better, the Bears have the edge. At the skill positions, Chicago's wide receivers are starting to shine. Luther Burden exploded for his first 100-yard game last week, and Rome Odunze continues to provide a reliable target. The running backs have struggled, but that has been the same story for Jenney and the Raiders. Brock Bowers is a weapon at tight end, but overall, the Bears' receiving core looks stronger and deeper. Along the offensive line, Chicago again holds the advantage. Braxton Jones played his best game of the season against Dallas. Darnell Wright is improving outside of penalties, and veteran guard Joe Thuney has been steady. For Las Vegas, Colton Miller is a standout, but the rest of the line has been overwhelmed, especially on the interior. Defensively, things get more interesting. Max Crosby is the single most dominant player in this matchup, and that alone makes the Raiders' defensive line dangerous. But once you move past Crosby, the Bears have more balance across their front. That one elite player keeps the comparison at a push. linebacker play has leaned toward Chicago, even without T.J. Edwards. Tremaine Edmonds is coming off one of his best games as a pro, and Noah Sewell continues to flash against the run. Jamal Adams has been solid for the Raiders, but Chicago's depth and recent performances make their unit more trustworthy. In the secondary, both teams have weaknesses. Injuries leave the Bears vulnerable, while the Raiders' back end has been inconsistent at best. Without Gordon, Chicago cannot claim a clear advantage, so that matchup remains level. Special teams is another toss-up, with neither side showing consistent strength or weakness, though the Bears cleaned up their mistake from earlier in the year in their win over Dallas. So where will the game be decided? For Chicago, it starts with the deep ball. Caleb Williams has been outstanding when pushing the ball downfield, completing half of his attempts over 20 yards in the air, and the stats could look even better if not for a couple of drops. His accuracy on throws that travel 40, 50, even 60 yards has been jaw-dropping. That kind of vertical threat not only creates explosive plays, it also forces safeties back, opening space underneath for the running game and shorter routes. The Raiders do not have a reliable free safety patrolling the back end, which makes them especially vulnerable to double moves and deep shots. The next key is generating pressure with only 4 rushers. Geno Smith has struggled badly when defenses sit back in coverage while still collapsing the pocket. Against a standard rush, he has thrown 0 touchdowns and 1 interception with a passer rating in the 50s, while being sacked over a dozen times already this year. That is the exact recipe Chicago wants. Montez Sweat showed flashes last week. Javon Dexter recorded multiple pressures, and even Grady Jarrett flashed some power. If those 4 can disrupt without extra blitzers, it allows the secondary to keep everything in front of them, which is essential given how thin they are at cornerback. Another name to circle is Raiders receiver Trey Tucker. He is not an every-week star, but when he gets loose, he can wreck a game. Against Washington, he went off for 8 catches, 145 yards, and 3 touchdowns, showing off his blazing 4.3 speed. The Bears' corners do not match up well against that type of player. Tariq Stevenson has struggled with shifty receivers, and Jalen Johnson's size advantage does not translate well in the slot. Without Gordon, Chicago may need a shade safety help over the top to avoid one mistake turning into a 60-yard score. On the ground, neither team has found much success. The Bears are averaging just over 3 yards per carry, while Jenny has been living off yards after contact because his blocking has broken down so quickly. Whichever side establishes even a modest run game could gain a crucial edge. For Chicago, winning the rushing battle would also ease pressure on Caleb Williams and keep the Raiders from pinning their ears back on every snap. Finally, the Bears need to strike first. Geno Smith has looked uncomfortable when forced to chase games, pressing for big plays that are not there and turning the ball over. If Chicago can jump out to a 7 or 10-point lead early, the pressure on Las Vegas will mount. Add in the fact that Bears fans are expected to travel in big numbers to Allegiant Stadium, and the crowd could even swing in Chicago's favor if things start well. This matchup is shaping up as a fascinating test of 2 teams trying to steady themselves before the bye. One will head into the break, and even 2-2, feeling like the season is back on track. The other will sink to 1-3, staring at an uphill climb the rest of the way. For the Bears, the formula is clear. Keep attacking deep, get pressure with the front 4, limit Trey Tucker's explosiveness, and control the pace with just enough of a running game. If those pieces fall into place, Chicago could very well leave Las Vegas with momentum and a season suddenly looking a whole lot brighter. The spotlight heading into this game continues to shine on Caleb Williams, and with good reason. He has not only shown flashes of brilliance, but has displayed the kind of poise and consistency that teams dream of in a rookie quarterback. The confidence in his arm strength has allowed Chicago to open up parts of the playbook that were simply unavailable in recent seasons. His deep passing accuracy has turned into a real weapon, and it is changing how defenses line up against the Bears. That bomb he threw to Luther Burden, over 60 yards in the air without even setting his feet, was the type of play that instantly makes the defense nervous. The ripple effect is real. Safeties are forced deeper, linebackers hesitate a split second longer, and suddenly intermediate routes look cleaner. Even the running game, despite its issues, stands to benefit when defenses cannot cheat up. And yet, while Caleb's growth is the headline, this matchup is going to demand just as much from Chicago's defense. The Bears have been criticized all season for not generating enough pressure, and while they showed signs of life against Dallas, the challenge is to prove it was not a one-week spike. Geno Smith has already been sacked 12 times when facing a standard four-man rush, and his numbers in those situations are near the bottom of the league. If Chicago's front can get home without blitzing, it changes everything. It means more bodies clogging passing lanes, more chances to bait Geno into mistakes, and fewer one-on-one assignments for an already depleted secondary. Montez Sweat and Javon Dexter must be disruptive again, and veterans like Grady Jarrett need to provide stability in the middle. The secondary's health will play a massive role as well. With Kyler Gordon likely out, the Bears lose one of their most versatile defensive backs, someone who could shadow a slot receiver like Trey Tucker. Without him, matchups become trickier. Tucker's speed is legitimate game-breaking speed. He already proved last week that he can take over a game if given space, and the Bears know how poorly they have historically matched up against players of his mold. The strategy has to include help over the top and smart positioning, because one blown coverage could tilt the game dramatically. The Raiders do not have a long list of dangerous weapons, but Tucker is the kind of player who can punish you if you sleep on him for even one snap. Running the football is another subplot. Neither side has cracked the code yet, and both are searching for balance. For Chicago, the numbers on the ground have been underwhelming, hovering at a little over 3 yards per carry. That has to improve because an entirely one-dimensional offense is not sustainable. It is not about breaking off 60-yard runs. It is about turning those 2-yard carries into 4 or 5, keeping drives alive, and wearing down the opposing defensive line. The Raiders have similar issues with Ashton Jenney. His toughness has kept him afloat, turning losses into modest gains through sheer willpower, but the explosive plays have not been there. Both sides know that winning the rushing battle could be the hidden key. If either team can tilt the balance in their favor, it will make the quarterback's job easier and keep their defense off the field. Momentum is another factor that cannot be overlooked. When Geno Smith has been forced to chase games this season, his decision-making has deteriorated. Against the Chargers, he started hunting for big plays that were not available, leading to unnecessary turnovers. Even against Washington, where the stat sheet looked clean, his efficiency was gone once the Raiders fell behind. That is why the Bears need to strike first and strike hard. A quick touchdown drive, or even an early double-digit lead, could put Geno in panic mode, forcing him into the very mistakes Chicago thrives on. The psychological weight of trailing again, combined with a restless home crowd and Bears fans making noise in Allegiant Stadium, could create an environment where Las Vegas begins to unravel. Special teams, though not glamorous, could quietly tip the scales. Last week, the Bears cleaned up mistakes that plagued them earlier in the year, and in a tight road game, execution on kicks, punts, and returns will matter. The Raiders, coming off a sloppy special teams performance, cannot afford repeat errors. Field position has a way of dictating the flow of a game, and whichever side manages to consistently start drives in favorable spots may find themselves with extra possessions that ultimately decide the outcome. Before we continue, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and give this video a like. Your support helps us keep bringing you the latest updates on our Chicago Bears. And don't be shy. Drop your thoughts on the news in the comments below. Rumors are swirling in the NFL world after a controversial comment reportedly made by veteran sportscaster Joe Buck about the Chicago Bears. Sources close to the matter claim that during a recent broadcast, Buck didn't mince words when discussing the struggling franchise, allegedly criticizing their performance and questioning the direction of the team. While the exact wording remains a point of debate, insiders suggest the remark was sharp enough to ignite a wave of chatter among fans, analysts, and social media alike. The Bears, a team with a storied history, have endured their fair share of ups and downs in recent years, but the alleged critique from Buck has only added fuel to the fire. Fans took to Twitter in droves, dissecting every clip and comment, with some defending the team's roster and coaching staff, while others echoed Buck sentiment, lamenting missed opportunities and inconsistent play. The buzz is particularly heated given Buck's reputation as one of the most prominent voices in sports broadcasting. Any negative remark from him tends to carry extra weight. Inside sources hint that the Bears' locker room may have caught wind of the comment, potentially adding tension behind the scenes. While professional athletes and organizations often refrain from publicly reacting to criticism from media figures, the speculation alone is enough to make headlines and keep the rumor mill turning. Sports talk shows and podcasts have already picked up the story, with some suggesting that Buck's remarks could impact how future broadcasts cover the Bears or even influence public perception during the upcoming season. Whether this was a fleeting comment blown out of proportion or the start of a larger media narrative remains to be seen. However, the chatter underscores a broader reality in modern sports. Nothing escapes the microscope, especially when it involves a team with as passionate a fan base as Chicago. One thing is certain, rumors like this are exactly what keep the NFL offseason buzzing, and the Bears may have to answer more than just questions on the field in the months ahead. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to stay updated with exclusive news about our Chicago Bears, be sure to subscribe to our channel and hit that like button. We can't wait to hear your thoughts in the comments. See you in the next video.